first intro.
And I could actually, now I heard it, so I was dancing.
So right. Welcome. Hey, happy St. Patty's Day to those of you that are watching us live. This is the Game Changing Work live show with myself, Veronica, and the lovely Roxana. Those of you that are also watching the replay, welcome. I definitely want to show that we are trying to improve the show. So you're going to see us experiment over the last couple shows on this. So we're having fun today on St. Patty's Day. So our topic for today is, do you have it? Wait for it. Is personal versus professional development. And what is personal transformation? So we're going to dive into all of that confusion that all of you probably have out there today. Is what is the difference between personal versus professional development, and then really peeling the onion back on personal transformation, which is probably all the rage, right? It's a new word out there today. So we're going to start with personal and professional development, because I think that one's probably the easiest. What do you think?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Let's start with the basics.
So, personal versus professional development. Oh yeah, do you love these overlays? I just love it.
I'm just playing with stuff that we have now. So yeah.
So those of you that are watching us live, hello again. You can drop into the chat in the comments as we talk if there's anything that you want to add to our conversations, or you have any questions when we dive into these topics. And those of you that are watching the replay, once again, put your comments in, because we're always watching and looking to what you have. And our main channel for you to watch is our Game Changing Work Show YouTube channel, which we highly recommend. We're getting better at being able to get everyone to go over there, because that is where our main platform is. So you can go to that link, go over there to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you'll always have our latest shows. So just wanted to do that plug. Now getting back to our subject, personal versus professional development. Now
that's a topic that I feel that we've been discussing before. It's just that it never is enough time. We never have enough time to really go deeper and deeper into it. So we actually need to discuss it more and more, because we've had a lot of people reaching out to you and me individually on this particular topic. And we feel like there's more and more of you who agree on a lot of the points that we're making here on the show about personal and professional development and how they go together hand in hand to lead to personal transformation. That's why we wanted to talk to you about that.
And today, in all truth, it's really the foundation of the show. And Roxana and myself, it's really what brought us together on our mission, is really blurring the lines between personal and professional, because we don't feel there's any different. Now, I would say that we talked about in our previous shows, those of you that want to watch the top 5 skills that companies are looking, that particular show, if I do a better job, I will go back and put that clip right up at the top, so you can click on the video on YouTube, by the way. You can do these. We talked about where 59% of companies are trying to reskill their employees by 2025. And this will fall a lot on the professional development side. And you came from that world, Roxana. And tell us about where, if we were to define what professional development is, how would you describe that based on your experience?
Let's talk about skills and pathways. So definitely when you get into the corporate world, you have all of these professional development programs. And because I come from the legal corporate world, so legal consulting, what you would get typically under professional development, definitely a lot of legal professional development, because you also need to get your continuous professional development points as a lawyer, for instance, right? So you would get technical professional development on that side. And also, when it comes to the corporate ladder, then we are talking skills, and we're talking management skills, we're talking leadership skills, we're talking team management, we're talking presentation, influencing, persuasion, and all of that. And for those kind of skills, you would have what we had in the corporations that I work with is, for instance, management development center or advisory development center. So you would be on your pathway as you were promoted on to the next level, and you would go through that particular program to raise your profile, to boost your skills and learn some new stuff, right? So when we're talking about professional development, typically this is what we see in organizations. And we also, in the good organizations, and I like to say that the ones that I worked with were pretty game changing in how they approached the professional development, because they would back it with, for the leadership, the executive leadership, they would back it up with coaching. And that goes into the more personal kind of development as well, but with a goal, with a clear business goal of why that person would be coached, because they would be expected to perform one way or another in the business, right? So that is typically what you would get in this kind of, when you talk professional development. These are clear programs that talk about skills, technical or soft, which again, we have a problem with naming them soft skills because they're pretty essential. So that's what you would be referring to.
Yeah, and the personal part, if I was to make sense and kind of put it together, the professional development usually is more of the business and things that you would need to be able to either get a job or a company needing you to upskill you, like I was talking about, where companies are looking to be able to have particular skill sets. The personal side is where they start to come together is, how well are you able to adopt these skill sets and put them to action? And where the coaching is, okay, I went to training, and we talked about this in some previous shows, is what do I do with that now? How do I actually implement what I just learned? And so that's where the personal and the professional development meets. And I think a lot of people can relate and understand this being the norm, I would say. And if we were to look at it, we have a visual, probably maybe we should pop that up, where we're going to start walking down. This was one of the visuals that the webinar that we promoted last week. I think it was last week. I'm losing track of time.
It was last week.
where I was about Scrum Masters. But most of the material that we use is really the foundation of what Roxana and I use as solutions anyways, of what we provide individuals and also companies to help them with. And where I'm going with is the professional one. If I were to fast track, I'm the one that actually has the, is this area in the box. I know, you're just like, I'm waiting for Roxana to click, and I'm the one that actually has this presentation. So down here is usually where corporations are focusing on, right? So me being an Agile, we talk about the Agile skills, the processes, Scrum, SAFe, all these things. And then we talk about the behaviors that are around. A lot of the assessments out there today are the actions and behaviors around applying a process. And that's really how you do something. And so corporations tend to stay in this lane. This is the norm, as I call it. When we start to talk about the personal development, we start to go a little bit higher. And I would say probably more on the belief part, because this is where your mindset, your emotional intelligence sits, to help you implement those things below, which are the skills, and the actions and things that you're doing. It also helps you as well in the environment that you're in, right? Because environment plays a big part on your ability to actually implement those skills and the actions that you have. So, did I miss any point on bringing that together? Is there anything we probably need to add when it comes to the personal and professional development?
What I would add, because I mean, definitely those are the points, and I think it's important to understand what we mean by personal development, because sometimes even that is so general and big, right? When you talk about personal development, you can talk about anything that's happening with you as a person. But when we talk about where I've seen a lot of confusion as well is in the emotional intelligence area, which people don't necessarily understand as where I place that, for instance, is in the beliefs, values, and identity, because that is where, when you are emotionally intelligent, that's where you have more clarity. That's where you start unpacking all of those layers of what makes you who you are and what makes you do the things you do the way you do them. So we talk about all of that when we talk about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not about just managing your love life or your relationships, or just talk about emotions in that sense of understanding who you like and who you don't like. It's not about that. It's more about understanding who you are and what makes you you. So
Oh,
that's
I
why
love
I
that.
wanted to talk about it, because it's sometimes emotional intelligence can feel like it's unimportant when we put it into no context at all.
And I like where you're going with this, because now we're about to get real. We're always about being authentic on this show and being who Roxana and I are. And here's the thing. We always say there's no difference between personal and professional, and there's a reason why we say this, because um, you could actually put the other thing and probably took the caption off at the bottom, and then maybe that will work. But yeah, that thing
Yeah.
gets in the way. But see here, if we look on those pieces, we tend to detach and disassociate ourselves when it comes to a personal basis, and we say that's work stuff, how it personally impacts me, and kind of that's how I was describing it. But the truth is, there's no difference. You are as a person, and when you start to unpack that emotional intelligence and you start to ask questions, you start to self-discover, you start to be more aware, is what I'm saying. This is when we're going to start to get into the next thing, which is personal transformation. And so I'm going to do my little visual here. This is where it's almost like the gateway. Emotional intelligence is the gateway to where you start trying to get more clarity and ask yourself, what is your purpose? Or how can I be purposeful? Because in work, in order to feel that you have an impact, that you have purpose at work, everyone wants to feel purposeful. There's a difference between life purpose and purposeful.
Yeah.
But it all stems on these top parts, because here's the thing, right? Purpose. You can look at it, we're all in systems of people. The individual, right? Where you're trying to figure out your purpose, which is your personal transformation. Oh, that was great. Look at that, how you slid that in. And then you have the company's transformation, right? What are they becoming? What's their purpose? And so it's like the worlds start to meet when we all are made of systems. And so you have the individual system, you have the team system, you have the team and team system, you have the whole, it just keeps building and building until you have the organic system of the enterprise. And then how does the enterprise, the company, fit in the world, right? Out there. How are they connected? What's their purpose? What's their mission? So all of this is related at this top logical level. And so when we start to think about identity, it's also the same thing. You can ask a company is what's their identity? Who do they want to be? What do they stand for? What's their mission, right? You can ask an individual what their identity is. You can ask a team, what's the team's identity? You can ask a product, right? A team of teams working together, and et cetera. Again, we're all based on systems. So personal transformation, I'm going to go on my opinion, is where it takes it deeper. It really is asking the powerful questions and really peeling the onion back with every level of the system. And when we talk about personal transformation, we're talking about the individual and getting them to say, what is your purpose? How do you want to feel purposeful? Who do you want to be? What's your identity, right? And that's one example, career and leadership identity. That's just one dimension, right? Who are you as a person, right? That gets into what are the things that are inside your head and inside your heart that the world don't see, that we're missing out in, right? And that's why a lot of people are turning to life coaches and coaches outside of. And Roxana, you and I both agree this is what's missing in organizations. This is what's missing in education, because I would love to start younger, is that we want to start with personal transformation and helping individuals become whole, who they are. And everything below is almost like it will gel, it will sink in, it will be more where the habits and routines become second nature when you're so much clearer above.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with, so what you said here, also going back to how organizations look at it. And if you think about it, we talk a lot about organizations having a clear mission, clear values, identity, purpose. When we talk about, and let's think about it this way, we talk about recruitment, we talk about people looking for jobs, and they look on the company webpage and they look at the company values and identity and mission and vision and everything, right? How many times do you actually get asked this question in your hiring interview about your values, about your mission, about your vision? How many times did you actually get this question? Because I bet you not too many times.
And it's
you know
so
that
vital.
It is so vital. And I've asked this question, and I've worked with CEOs of small businesses, and I included this question in their questionnaire for hiring people for their organization. And first of all, when candidates hear this question, first of all, they're surprised. Some of them are even shocked, but they're surprised because they never or very rarely got this question. And then they're so happy to answer it. You can see the light in their eyes when they start answering the question. And even if they have to think about it on the spot, that's such a great question to ask. And that's such a great question to ask of ourselves, first of all, before anybody else asks it.
Yeah,
because that's where we can align.
If you were to ask a candidate, right, let's just play this out, the yin and the yang, and say the person can't answer you because they don't have clarity. Well, who's to say that clarity is not going to come in your company? Mm-hmm. And how does that impact their ability to be able to do things? Now, you could be highly successful and be able to act and do things because you learned how to function that way. I call it almost like a robotic way, right? They just learned how to do it. But here's the thing. We shared, I think, many shows ago where there have been studies about insecurities, and that's what we talked about, midlife crisis. And you'll have like athletes. Michael Jordan actually talked about that in his documentary. What would have happened if the Bulls stayed around? And he did hit that point because he did have a midlife crisis. He even admitted to that. And so a lot of successful people are able to do these results and get things, but what ends up happening, they hit a wall at a certain point because that identity, all of these things that we're talking about, they never really sat down and thought about it. And so that's why you hear that. And it's not just men that have a midlife crisis. Everyone has midlife crisis. They look back.
Exactly.
If you look at if you go to Dan Pink's website, his next book, he does a lot of the research before he does a book is Life of Regret. He's asking people to fill out, what do you regret about in life? And you can actually go, and there's a heat map. And it doesn't say who it is, but it'll say how old they are and where they're from and what they regret about. And it's actually quite fascinating. If any of you are interested, go to his website. It's there. And my point is that this deals with all of this about the holistic of someone. And so if you're an organization, and a lot of you are going through transformations, trying to achieve business agility, and you have a lot of people, even post-pandemic, that are questioning lives and purpose, it's all going to start looking like this. Because again, we're all made of systems.
Mm-hmm.
We're organic systems of energy. How can we how can we truly separate that in truth?
But really, I think this is a lot of what we've seen happening since last year now, is exactly this. We've seen people discovering or rediscovering some of their personal values and beliefs, and discovering maybe their identity or a whole new identity. And that's why some of us have struggled. Some of us have really thrived because that fueled the way that they were doing things in this new whole paradigm. And absolutely, that has an impact on everything that happens to you as a business after all, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we all have some results. We all get something done. And how we do it, how we get that done, is going to matter. And it's fueled by everything that fuels us internally. So all of the beliefs and values and identity and everything that we believe about ourselves to be true.
And so to tie this together, as you might be, going through digital transformation, agile transformation, or if you got even fancier and you're calling it business agility, whatever it might be, business agility really is kind of just the holistic, right? Digital is the digital aspects, agile is a process. So business agility is really just the whole entire shebang in truth. But my point is, change starts within. And so I've always said, and it's my mission, I even have it on my website, where I believe that education and businesses bringing life coaching in, because this is part of the personal transformation piece. I know you've never even labeled it life coach, but your Lead for Legacy for management and small business CEOs is really about life coaching ingrained in it. It's true. You just don't call it that. Mm-hmm. And it's all about these top logical levels of change, of being able to understand who you are, and as I call the B state, because as a company, a company needs to know who they need to be as well. I always say be, do, have. Be, do, have. Mm-hmm. And who do you want to be? You have to answer that question first. Now, a lot of times we like to focus on what we want to have, but that's the cart before the horse. Then we like to focus on how we get there. What are the things we need to do, right? Companies are really good for that. As an agile coach, I get hired for processes, right? And then we sell the result, because that's how they think. But I really want to go is, how much clarity do you have about who you want to be? And most of them don't have it in truth, and some do. Or some have the clarity, but the whole entire organization isn't on the same page. When we talk about values, I loved where you're going with the resume. Part of my the Scrum Master hiring guide that I made had talking about someone's personal core values. Now, I even challenge, even when the value exercise, I actually talked about that last night in my live stream, is that what are those really at the end of the day? Because if I was to say you had 6 months to live, what's your bucket list? And then you map values against that list of things that you want to do, most likely some of your core personal values or values that you have might drop off the list. They weren't core, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
And so you match that with the company to see, okay, is there some similarity, right? I love where you're going with asking that question. A lot of times, even companies like Atlassian that's really good about embodying mission and core values. They during the interview process, you take a quiz before you go, so you're already kind of self-checking to see if you align that you did those core values. But they never ever question is, what's my mission? What's my purpose? So there still is this outwardness versus the individual coming in, going, do we align even on purpose? Do we align on it's still not necessary core of a lot of these more progressive companies, where I think some companies now are wanting to go like, what matters to you in life? Like, and they will ask some of these questions because they want to know is, how are you emotionally connected to what we do here? Right?
Exactly. And how can you, and maybe if you have, and even if we don't, the whole point of this exercise is not necessarily having the same exact values, but understanding what drives you and how that goes with what drives us as an organization, because that's going to matter a lot in building the culture of that organization and how we move
It's like a
forward, because
relationship.
the culture is the how. Exactly, it's the relationship. So how can we either go together hand in hand because we have similar values, or how can we complement each other, and is that possible? And if it's not possible, let's discuss it. Or I'd rather know from the beginning that it's not going to work, and that's going to benefit the both of us. And I think the reason why I'm saying this is to help the individuals understand that, hey, you're accountable for your own results, or as you say, you're at cause for your results. And you'll know I love that. But it's true. And if that's true, then what can you do as an individual to make sure that you are getting better results, and that the results are aligned with who you are and what you believe in? How can you do that if you don't even know what your values and your identity and your beliefs are?
Now, I love history. And history teaches a lot of things that I think a lot of us don't pay attention to. And if you probably looked at history through the course of time of just work itself and what work looked like, or movements, and how were you able to get a lot of people together, like volunteer work of their time to do work. And so when you start to look at history and you look at these things and where we're actually heading, this is where I'm going to challenge anything that was a work type thing. They are innovating and finding ways to do it automated or through robotics or any other kind of way that doesn't require humans. But we can't replace humans because we're very unique in the way that we think and we approach things. And that what they can't, a robot, yeah, they have movies out there, but you know what? They still haven't figured it out. It's not going to be like, what's that one with Robin Williams when he actually had humanity? And that's my point, is until the robots can have humanity, that's the one unique thing as humans that is not going to get replaced. And so knowledge working and our human way of thinking and approaching a problem and how we come up with ideas and solutions around it, a computer cannot replace you. So what I'm getting at is that human side of what is going to drive success out of the human aspect, that our brains is my point. And we've talked about where creativity doesn't come from the land of stress, right? If you have self-doubts, you have fear of failure, See where I'm going with this, Agilist people, any of you that might be watching this? This is all the human aspect of it. And this is why personal transformation is huge. And our focus on that in education and in organizations, instead of people going to life coaches outside of work, is so profound. And it's almost like, for me, it's a light bulb. It's so obvious. And I'm not the only one out there. You see it. I talk to other Agilists, they see it. And it just takes the laggers, right? We're the leading people, the laggers to come along and say, oh, okay, I see what you mean. We kind of have to do it, or they have no choice. Because what's going to end up happening is those innovations, those automations, those robotics that I'm talking about, we're going to live in the land of Star Trek eventually. You know, I always love using Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah, one of your favorites.
Well, because I watch it, and because when the only thing that's not going to replace is the human, our brains. Our brains are so fascinating, the things that we're capable of doing. So why wouldn't we want to try to help people harness it, is my point.
Yeah, I know. And it's exactly that. And it's exactly what we've seen some of the organizations, some of the companies do, especially during this past year, where they pay more attention to the individuals. Because, and here's the amazing thing that happened, just because we didn't have that physical proximity, because we wouldn't meet in the office anymore, because we were all working virtually, that actually, for some people and for some companies, that meant that, hey, I need to pay more attention to the individuals that I'm working with on a daily basis, so that I can maintain a level of, first of all, sanity, and second, productivity, and all of that, the efficiency and everything that we love to talk about. But when you have people that are all together, you have families locked at home with small children, or I don't know, young children or whatever, and they all are at home and they need to work and they need to maintain a sort of normalcy, what do? And that's how we ended up accepting business meetings with people that have, I don't know, cats or dogs or kids in the background, or showing up and saying hi. And all of that didn't used to happen before. And we wouldn't have allowed it in business conversations and in business environments. And what we actually started to think about more and more is, how can we cater to the individual? Because when we talk about flexibility and adaptability, that meant a lot of flexibility and adaptability. How can you do that? Because there are people out there struggling. Exactly.
Yeah, it took an event. So again, history. If we look at history, it always took catastrophic events in order for people to change. Tony Robbins, when I watched his event, he talks about this on a personal level. What is that one moment in life that you just said you had enough? So it requires something that involves more people, like COVID did, to be able to wake up and start thinking about it. So we have been doing this at a personal level. We all have our moments where we say enough's enough, and then we make a change. What's happened now, and this is why I always say this is the year of rethink, because 2021, a lot more people in the system going, had enough. We have companies saying, shit, we change, because they were fooled. And now we're seeing this year of 2021 of rethink. Now, is everything going to change like this in 2021? No. What I'm saying is things are simmering. Things are like people are priming. Increase of transformation, companies investing, because they're in the, oh shit, we got to do something. Well, how do you change a big system of people? It's not going to happen overnight. But I can tell you right now, there are probably things happening behind closed doors with leadership companies talking about this very thing. Because why would 59% of companies be reskilling their workforce and getting ready for 2025? Why are they like, oh crap, we don't have a company of employees of resilient workers? They don't think this way.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. And
shit,
I can
what are we going to do?
absolutely. And this is, so this is what I see. This is, so one of the things that we talk about a lot in the Lead for Legacy League, right? So this is this, and this is exactly one of the reasons why I studied it. But you have people, you have managers, not at that executive level, but people who struggle with talking to their people, with talking to their teams. And we're not necessarily talking about not even skills or upskilling or reskilling. It's just a different kind of communication that we need to be able to do. And we need to
No.
be, and that's what we haven't been used to doing. And that's the, I love explaining it because I had my own light bulb moment when I got it. And what's the difference between change and crisis? Because with managing change, okay, you plan for it and then you test it and then you have the end result and then things changed, but you have the whole process in that happens during a timeline. With crisis, you're already there where change has
In it.
already happened. And then you have to go back and see how you can tweak and what you can tweak and make things work for the change that already happened. So that's when the emotional toll is absolutely huge, because we don't like change anyway. But for
And that's where the
crisis,
resilient comes in.
exactly. For sudden change, we hate it. So, what do you do with that emotional toll? And that's where emotional intelligence, as you were saying, comes in,
Oh,
because you
it's
need to be able
huge.
to address that. Otherwise, you can't, because when emotions go high, rational goes low. So there's no way we're going to be
And
able
there's
to
no good
strategize
solutions
if we
in
feel.
thinking.
Exactly. How
Yeah.
can I come up with rational solutions when I feel exhausted, depleted, insecure, I'm frustrated, I'm anxious, it's all of those things, right? How am I able to carry on a rational conversation?
And this is why I'm fascinated. I love when I talk to people that were in like special forces, Navy SEALs, or in very high crisis type of situations. They're trained to deal within that. Actually, normal's hard for them because they've been learned how to like when it's too quiet, like they say, I get fidgety because they are more highly focused and calm
Yeah.
actually in the crisis
Yeah.
because it's all that training. And I'm quite fascinated by it. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert by it, but whenever I talk to people, I mean, I'm like this, like just asking them questions because it's what we want to be able to have. Because I remember when I got rear-ended by a car, I had this gut feeling that the person was going to leave the scene because I it was like near a light, and I think he ran it. And there was no turning lane, and I was turning left to go in to drop my friend to drop off her car. My instinct, I didn't freak out. I actually approached it really calm, which was really strange. But my first instinct was get the license plate, Veronica, get the license plate. So I got up out of the car, and by the way, that car was totaled. My trunk was in my back seat. Luckily, nobody was sitting in the back seat. And I just started repeating over and over again that guy's license plate. I don't know why. And I was calm as all hell. And I remember this to this day. I mean, this is over like 25 plus years ago now. I mean, I was a teenager. And it's those moments, right? How was I able to think about getting the license plates when some people probably would have sat there? Now, I had another car accident. Yes, I've had many. It's like I'm wondering why my bones might start hurting by now. Well, I got sidewiped and I couldn't get my foot to hit the brake. And if I would have kept going, I would have went onto the freeway. Why is it that moment I couldn't hit the brake? And my point is, we all will handle crisis, we'll all handle situations very differently. But we have to start exercising our muscle and our brains to be able to remain calm, to be able to think about these things when they happen. So let's turn this into a business, right? Well, we know that the market is constantly changing all the time, right? And it's not like how it used to be where the cycles of change were really long. The windows are becoming narrow since the internet and the digital age, because look at social media. The minute something goes viral, it changes the market instantly, right? You got the stock market and whatever. Like, it's crazy how things change like this, and then companies have to adapt and pivot based on maybe one post, one freaking tweet that goes out. That's how crazy it is. So this is real, folks. You don't have to get sideswept by a car or rear-ended like my stories. We're living on a daily basis, running a business.
And it can be transformational from one moment to the next, right? And I think what you said here is, I resonate with that completely, because I had talk about near-death experiences. That's when you go through something like that. For me, it wasn't a car crash. For me, it was almost a plane crash. So there we go. But the way that you then start thinking about what matters to you. So going back to what we were saying about personal values and beliefs and all of that core system, because I remember distinctly thinking in that moment, I can't die right now because I still have a lot of things to do. that was the recurring thought that I had in my mind at that moment. I still have stuff to do. And it just puts you into, it throws you, not puts you, it throws you into a completely different perspective. And so for me, it wasn't the pandemic and the lockdown. Yes, it was hard, but I'd been there before. So I had sort of like, I had that muscle already a little bit worked out when that happened. And it didn't hit me that hard because I was more prepared, because I knew I was, at least until then, I was on the path that I wanted myself to be on. And this is, I think, the bottom line.
You and I are game changers. So it's very easy for us to probably talk about things because, and we talked about in our birthday special, if you want to watch, game changers are natural change agents. And you probably will talk to any game changer. We're never. Now, it doesn't mean that we're risk takers. We're going to go jump out of a plane and do that kind of risk. It's more of change to take us out. That's what I'm trying to say. And so we're willing to try new things because we see possibilities and we challenge the status quo all the time. What we work through is our emotional intelligence that will get us to be able to do the plane if we want to. But it's already there in us innately in our DNA. And that hits, if show that model again. Mm-hmm. So just in case some people don't know, like, what the heck is Veronica talking about? It hits right there, using beliefs area. And then when you become clearer about your purpose and who you are, it all gels together is my point. And so that journey, getting back to the point of the show, personal transformation, most people won't try to do this alone. You're going to have some kind of support system. Either you're going to go get a coach, or you're going to work with your pastor, right? Or you're going to work you're going to have some kind of support network of somebody that you can speak to, right? That's why they have, just like AA, and you go to a support group and it helps you the steps and whatever, because that is personal transformation. You're actually changing something about you. A lot of us can look at it in many different ways. So getting back to the difference between personal, professional, personal and professional development. I know we're so serious today. See, look, I can't even think now because we're just way too serious. And and personal transformation. It's St. Patty's for us. I should be like having a green beer for crying
That
out loud.
is why, exactly.
I mean, my husband's like
Okay.
listening to the jig music, like the Irish jig and like music downstairs, So yeah,
So there you go. Personal affecting the professional, right? And we
yeah.
think it doesn't. Yeah, surprise, it does.
Well, that's why. Hello, why did I do Shamrocks and everything? I thought it would be fun. Now,
Yeah.
so personal transformation is more profound and more sustainable. I think that's what we need to hit home on because it's working at the levels above that's going to drive everything below. So if a company is going through some kind and to achieve business agility, why wouldn't we want to do that with individuals or the thin?
Mm-hmm. And actually, we are doing that. It's again, your people issues are going to be business issues, right? Because it's the people who work on the business that give you the results that you want to have. So it always goes like this. And I think what we're saying here is personal transformation is extremely important, especially right now, because we don't know a lot of things. Because what we know is that we are not going to get back to how things were a year ago or 2
No,
years
it's going to
ago.
keep changing.
That's
It's not
what we
even
know.
2022 is
But
not even going to be like 2021.
Right? But we don't know exactly what the future is going to look like. So this is what we're building as we go.
Star Trek.
So that's why Star Trek, right? So that's why personal transformation is going to matter, because it will bring you all of those results that maybe some of them are not even clear now. Maybe the outcomes are not clear, and that's when, of course, that's what we talk about, and that's where you need some help to clarify them. But what happens with the rest of the unpredictable things that are going to happen? And that's going to be down to individuals and how they act and react against everything that's happening.
And if
that goes to personal
we
transformation.
keep only focusing in the red box, missing the mark. We need to go higher, folks.
Because there's no, you talk about, we talk about motivation and engagement a whole lot. Well, guess where motivation and engagement levels are going to be? They're not going to be in the bottom part of it. They're going to be aligned to beliefs, values, identity, and mission and purpose. That's where the whole motivation and engagement sit. You can't have them without purpose.
Because when we have failure, which happens, and if we're learning to teach companies how to do experimentation, which is allowing innovation to happen, okay, I'm going to link that all together. It's all driven above, changing the skills and your actions and behaviors. You can look at it like where, the power of habit, right? Where you do something repetitive, it actually turns into something where it's more long-term in your brain. But here's the thing. That takes a long time to actually happen. There are so many other ways that if you start from the top and help someone get more clarity, help them with beliefs, their mindset, right? And this emotional intelligence, that habit that you're trying to create down in that will be faster and more sustainable because you're actually getting to the root cause. What's happening is organizations are working on the symptoms, right? It's almost like a bleed. Are you putting the Band-Aid on, or are you actually getting to the cause of what's causing the bleed?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you said that, because here's the thing about behavior. You have behavior, there's two kinds of behaviors, basically, to make it simplistic. The behavior that you want to keep and the behavior that you want to change. Now, how are we going to get the behavior to change if we're thinking about everything that's happening the same way. If we're thinking about it like we get stuck into that old way of thinking, how are we going to ever be able to change the behavior? Something needs to click, the perspective needs to shift, something there needs to change in how we think about that situation so that we can actually change the behavior. That's where emotional intelligence comes in. And that's where working on beliefs and identity and mission, that's where that helps with the behavior change as well. Because I can tell you, it's like the fish example, right? You can ask a fish to fly, but is it going to be able to do it when all its life, that's what it's made for, to swim, not to fly? So I can teach a fish how to swim. Will they be able to swim? Not really. Right? I can teach the skills, but that does not guarantee the change in the behavior. So we go to identity to see if that's actually going to be possible. And then we work on the behavior. It's
I love
not,
it.
we've been doing it wrong the whole time, as you said.
Now, it's time to wrap up the show. And just to kind of, I hit home is personal and professional development is what is the norm today. Personal transformation is what we need to start doing today and going forward.
Yeah. So
that's the end result of today's show, folks. Now,
exactly. That's what we talked about for 45
now
minutes.
Now go drink your green beer. So what's going on in our worlds? Roxana and I are definitely, we have a very aligned mission with each other. So we are partnering a lot of our ventures when it comes to this mission of personal transformation and impact. Mm-hmm. So we have a webinar that we are doing together. She's coming on into my world of Agile. So I'm kind of trying to bring her over here because everything she's doing, I'm going, you're Agile, lady, you're Agile. So we're doing things through Ingenious Agile in that aspect, but it's really all personal stuff as we partner together. So just disclaimer on that. I'm just the one in the Agile world, so it makes sense. But I need her, is my point. We're going to have a webinar of Agile teaming strategies. Did I put that in the caption? I think I did.
No, you didn't. I'm creating it. No, you put the topic for next week, but I'm doing it now. Don't worry.
Oh, but I don't have the sign-in.
We will URL. Put the sign-in in the comments. So check the comments at the end of the show, and we'll put it there for you to sign up.
I was too busy building shamrocks, and I forgot to do this caption. This is what happens. So anyways, the webinar is not until April 29th. So we have a ways to promote this. This is going to be on Agile teaming strategies. And so, again, teaming, right? Companies are made of systems of teams. And so we're going to talk about teaming strategies on how to think about in relation to a different way and a different approaches than probably your traditional way. And that really didn't make sense what I just said. So it's all about outcome-based planning, impact, and the multidimensional view of maybe some of the existing things that you are doing today. So I'll leave it with that.
Yeah.
And you have your lead for legacy?
Yeah, I do. And we are I was thinking about it, and yesterday we discussed a lot about all of the experiments in the 70s about obedience and conformity and influencing and all of that kind of stuff. So really we started from doing a mini training on listening skills, and we ended up talking about social psychology basically. And that is absolutely amazing to me because it shows me that we're moving towards a different level where we are actually moving towards personal transformation more and more. As you just said, it's not just about the skills. It's not, yes, you do need the techniques. Yes, you do need the skills. Yes, you absolutely need that. But then beyond that, what is helping you and what's motivating
it's the cart
you, what's making you what drives you?
The horse.
Exactly. So this is what we're doing, and we're doing a lot of brainstorming and group coaching and coming up with strategies that people can then take back to their teams in their organizations and use them, and really work with their teams differently. So join us and see how this works for you, because I'm telling you, you won't get bored. No way.
And there's a lot of like agile leadership programs. Most of the times it's just a program that you go to. It's not necessarily like a membership that you can back. And those of you that are agile folks, I'm trying to say, hey, go over and see Roxana, because we talk about the frozen middle, the middle management. There's a lot of programs for VPs or executives, right? Like a certain level that go to these leadership programs for business agility. And even like the business agility conference, they have something for executives, but you don't see something for middle management. So my point is, they always get forgotten. Your membership. Oh yeah, drink some green beer, Veronica. The membership that you have in this league, it really caters to a lot in the context in my head when it comes to middle management that don't get the love that they need. You might go to a class, yay, agile manager class, but there isn't anything like a support network. And so this is why I am like pulling like a tug rope Roxana into the agile world, because I'm thinking of you guys. Those of you that are watching, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. Okay. So awesome. Thanks. And what do you have? Where's your stuff? Oh, the webinar. Yes. Thank you.
The webinar, and I forgot. Oh yeah, I just totally like my Rethink with Veronica channel. I'm tried that whole group thing, but I'm not really satisfied with the Facebook group. I'm not going to lie. When my platform is LinkedIn, and then I have this YouTube channel, and so I'm rethinking what I'm going to end up doing, and see how that's going to start looking like forward. I might keep the group, but I've been asking for feedback and no one's telling me, so I might just make my own decisions here. But definitely go to the Rethink with Veronica YouTube channel, because I'm going to go back to streaming my lives, what I'm actually sharing, and that is going to be focused on Scrum Masters or lead within agile teams, right? It's really about the teaming in agile. I don't care what the name of your role is, or team of teams, if you're an RTE, about helping you, which I call my Thrive for Excellence on the 4 dimensions. So yesterday I had the show about what really drives skills and behaviors for Scrum Masters. And we talk about some of the things that we actually talked about today. So it's all kind of related, but my niche and focus is around the agile teaming and the roles like Scrum Master and such. That was pretty long-winded, but you get my point.
But that was that was great segue to next week's topic, because we will be talking about agile management and people strategies that are outcome based. So come back, watch us next week, and let's dive into more people strategies and how we can align them to outcomes.
And don't forget, Game Changing Work channel show. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, that's when you're going to be able to. You can sit back, download the app on your Roku, and watch it like a television show. I mean, come on, subscribe to the channel. So, oh my God, let's have some fun, Roxana, and let's play our out intro as our outro. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye for now.